Hey guys, we got another antique lock we're going to add to our Cool Old Lock series. As you see, this is a Yale, and this is called a Yale Pancake lock. It's about 57 millimeters in diameter, and a couple of things I'd like to look at. Before we start flipping it over, let's look at some of the detail that you find. I'm amazed. This lock is called the Model 1094, and this one was not used on the railroad. Most of them were. And if they're marked on the railroad, generally they're stamped somewhere on the front, property of, and then the railroad company name. And if you find one of those, of course, they're worth literally hundreds of dollars or hundreds of euros. I couldn't afford those, so I bought this one. I have several of them. I was so impressed after I bought this one, I decided to buy several more, but without the key, and I'll explain why that turned out to be a curse rather than a blessing. When you look at this lock, I'll hold this up close. This comes from a different time. This comes from a different work ethic. This lock came. They molded it, as you see, and they didn't have to do a lot of things to make this a beautiful lock. It would be a beautiful lock without all this artistic stuff on the front. But they, by hand, cut this into the front. You can see it was machined in there. And then, of course, their logo was probably cast. And then some workman, took a lot of time to, by hand, go in and peen each and every one of these little dimples in the front of this to add texture. And again, that's that artistic flair. It really sets the lock off. There are hundreds of them. I can't imagine how much time this took. They're all equal depth and really good spacing, but if you look closely, if I can get it to focus, no machine did that. A human hand had to do each and every one of those. And if that wasn't enough, they took a smaller dimple, and inside of this small area around the letters of Yale, he went in there and he dimpled that as well to add that texture. It's just a beautiful block, and a lot of attention to detail was put into these. The body is made from copper. And the hasp itself is made from brass. So while they're dissimilar metals, this is a lock that you can put outside and you can leave it in the weather, expose it to salt spray, and it's not really, other than tarnishing it, it's really not going to have any effect on the metal. It's going to last a long, long time. When you look at the side of the lock, and it's only about 16, 17 millimeters thick, very thin. It's a handy lock. Again, the name Pancake. Let's look at the attention to detail here as well. I don't know how well this is coming out on camera, but after they made this lock and they assembled the front plate and the back plate, they put it back into the lathe and they turned it to make everything align perfectly. So there were no disfigurements. It was very pleasing to the eye. And then if that wasn't enough, they went in and they, again, a separate machining operation, and they milled this bevel in the edge. They could have just made it level, just smooth, but instead they put a very slight rounded groove, a chamfered groove. Again, they don't have to do this, but it adds texture. It's pleasing not to have a sharp edge, and it's pleasant to the touch. It's not going to cut anything. On the back of the lock, there's nothing, and I think the reason is that, it's to the door. No one is ever going to see the back of it, so it's just a completely smooth finish. Now, you've seen the front, and you've seen the back, and you notice there's no keyhole. Well, that's because the keyhole is on the bottom, and that's one more unusual thing about this Pancake lock. It's not a pin tumbler. It is a lever lock, but it's an unusual lever lock. This lever lock requires a special key, and this is this is the original key. I'm going to use a white background so you can see these notches, and they're very small. And this is the original key, and I realize it looks really rough, but it's 100 years old, guys. Give it a break. You can see the little notches, and those line up with the 6 levers that are on the inside of this lock. So when we place the key in the keyhole, and it has to go in only one way, and then we don't turn it. Obviously we can't because it's in a groove. We push it. So again, it's called a push lever lock, and when we push it in, we get a very vigorous opening. I'll do that again. Push the lock. Now I push it to a certain depth, and the grooves internally will all align. Only when I reach that point can I push the levers simultaneously. All of them move at the same time to unlock, to reach the unlock gate after it's aligned. Now, why my dilemma? Why am I disappointed in my decision to buy 3 of these? Well, this is the only one with a key. The other two have no key. So you think, well, you look at all the cracks on that. I mean, let's try to shim it. But, I've tried all of that. I've tried every groove I can fit a pick into or feeler gauge. And then I went to the patent and I looked at the patent. And the unlocking mechanism is deep in the heart of this lock. There's no way externally to access it, not even through the slot. There's also, as best I can see, no way to pick this, because when you put a pick into the slot, you can access only one of those gates at a time, and they're very powerful spring on each of them. And you have to push them all simultaneously. In other words, you have to pick all 6 simultaneously and then push them further into the unlock. And until they're perfectly aligned, you can't get it. So at least I am unable to pick 6 different gates simultaneously and align them perfectly to move them to the unlock. So if you guys have any ideas about how to unlock it, I'm all ears. Well, I figured I would impression it, and again I tried to impression it, and it works the same way. They don't impression the keys as a typical pin tumbler would. So again, I'm out of luck. I have no way other than cutting them open, and I refuse to cut open a 100-year-old lock. He's been working for 100 years. He's kept me out for a big part of that, so I have to have the respect for them. Anyway, it's a great old lock. It is a cool lock. If you have a chance to get one, it'll make a wonderful addition to your collection. Anyway, I just thought I'd take a few minutes to talk about it. Everybody, thank you for your time. Everybody stay safe and stay legal.